Hi everyone, welcome to our reflection on Words of Hope today. So much of what Jesus teaches us is really challenging, isn't it? So often he challenges us to think differently, to feel differently and to behave differently. And the verses that we've just had read to us from Matthew 16, they're no exception, are they? Some would say that they're some of the most difficult verses to apply and follow in the Bible. Because what these verses do is they challenge us as believers to deny ourselves and to take up our own crosses and to follow Jesus. This is not an easy, carefree life, is it, that we're being called to? In fact, it's one that Jesus suggests involves a denial of self, my wants and my desires. And I guess in many ways this teaching shouldn't be a surprise to us because it infuses the whole of the gospel. It's consistent with what Jesus taught about love, that we should love the Lord our God with all our heart and with all our soul and our mind, and that we should love our neighbours as ourselves. These verses are all about placing God, not ourselves, at the centre of our lives. And we see the greatest example of this, don't we, in Jesus himself, who chose the way of the cross because he knew it was the only way for us to know freedom. He put God and he put us before himself. One of the things that really reassured me as I thought about these verses and as I read them again, they just reminded me that this discipleship way of living is not something that we do alone. Because following by its nature involves at least two people. And as we walk this way of the cross, we have Jesus with us. He's ahead of us, he goes before us, and he shows us the way. We're not alone on this journey. And then as we walk in this way, we're joined by others, aren't we? Those around us who encourage us and who bless us, because they too are following this radical way of living. It's a way of life with company, and that's so encouraging for us. And then the final thing that jumped out for me as I pondered on these verses is just the wonderful paradox of them. That as we choose this way of dying to self, it seems on the surface that we lose everything. But Jesus explains that in this very act of sacrificially living, we actually find life. In fact, this way of life, this way of living, does not diminish us. Instead, it brings us unexpected liberation and new opportunities and freedom. So as we look at these verses today, as we think about them, as we let them dwell richly in our hearts, may we be people who follow the way of the cross.